Oh, he is a ginger
Yeah.
little.
Yeah, I can't believe Tommy.
Condy, my main man, Condy.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Zero Strategy Podcast, episode 29. We hope you're doing well today, guys. We appreciate you all being here. We have a lot to talk about. I'm joined today by my co-hosts, Just Grog.
Hey.
We've got Sir Humps.
Hey.
And we've got the Mighty Kibbles.
I have push to talk, so I can only do one hand, and it's going to look really weird. Hey!
Okay, fantastic.
I don't know what you're talking
about. So before we get into it all, as always, guys, if you're watching in the live stream and you've got any questions for us or topics or any hot takes, please make sure to let us know in the chat. You can at one of us or at Zero Strategy Podcast so we can see your question in the live chat here. First of all, Grog, how has your week been? Or, well, we didn't have an episode last week, so how's your last couple of weeks been? What have you been up to?
So last couple of weeks for streaming have been good. Last couple days I've been in a bit of a funk, but one of the things that I'm stoked about is that my Loupedeck finally arrived. So we'll talk about after the intros. We'll talk about that at some point. But yeah, things are okay. I reached out to someone to start talking about like getting a channel trailer to put together, as well as like solidifying sort of like a branded stinger / intro for like future videos. So I'm that was good progress. I felt happy with. So yeah, there's some things cooking.
Heck yeah. Hubs, what have you been up to?
I started streaming again last week.
Hey.
I took a couple. Thank you. Thank you so much. I took a couple weeks off, just reasons. I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow because my wife thinks I'm dying, so I have to go to a doctor's appointment that she made for me.
Does she have good life insurance?
Oh well, we've talked about that.
Okay, then yeah, go to the doctor.
Yeah. No, I'm not. She doesn't actually think. Anyway, I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow. That's about it. Just
Are you dying? Is this what are you trying to say that you're dying?
I'll know tomorrow. Let's just say this isn't the right doctor I need to go to.
Well, I hope all is well there.
I hope Dr. Spaceman can help you.
Oh yeah.
All right, Kibbles, what have you been up to?
Oh, you know.
I don't know. That's why I asked.
I haven't been playing as much Warzone. Been playing some other games, and I've been finishing games. Which,
what?
Yeah.
Sure.
And like it's pretty dope. I actually have a command in my chat now where people can see what games I've completed. So if they say you don't beat games, I can go, well, look at this. There's like 8 games on there. Just ignore the ones that I didn't finish. But yeah,
should there be a command for all the games that you haven't finished, or would that just like is there a character limit on?
Yeah,
like,
I don't think we need to talk about that, and I feel like I'm getting attacked.
Did we announce your news on the podcast, Humps, as well?
We did not.
Do you want to tell the ladies and gentlemen about it?
Do you want to stand up and show the class?
If you're watching this, if you're listening, just continue listening. I'm going to tell you. But if you're watching, you can tell I'm wearing a shirt. I have
for once
the shirt that says "Live Bread."
For the first time in 20-something episodes, I am currently clothed. Nope, it is Live Bearded. I've got a sponsor. And you can use code Sir Humps if you're in the United States. I apologize. I'm sorry. They're only United States right now. But you can use code Sir Humps and you can save some money on all your bearded needs. They've got all the balms, all the oils, all the combs. You got your swag. I got a hat and some. They got hats. They got all the. I actually really do like their. They call it the beard butter. It's like a cross between a beard balm and like a beard wax. It doesn't have quite the hold as wax, but I don't know. It just feels really good.
It's a very on
And you
brand.
can save some money.
Yeah, and a very on brand sponsor.
How did you
Yeah,
say oil?
and I was really happy about that.
Can you say oil again for me?
Well, I live in the South now, so I feel like I have to say "oh."
Okay. It caught me off guard.
Well, yeah, I mean, for the past couple weeks, so I also took like a week and a half off. After we talked last, Humps, and you were saying how it was kind of just nice to have a break, I really just felt like doing the same thing. So I took like 9-10 days away from the internet completely. No Twitter, no Discord, no streaming, nothing. And it was really super nice, honestly. I was, we've talked about it a lot before, but I was definitely feeling the burnout coming in. I was at a point where I just wasn't interested in playing any game. Like, the idea of playing any game kind of just made me like bored. So I took a break. It felt super weird, but I think it was the right thing to do. And I encourage anybody who's currently streaming regularly and gets a little bit burnt out to take a break. I feel so much better now that I'm back, and I've kind of changed up my approach to streaming a little bit as well. So instead of doing like, before it was like I need minimum 5 streams a week, or else I feel like a piece of shit. I'm now kind of like, you know what? We'll do maybe 3 a week, and we'll just see what happens. And I'm trying to focus a little bit more on like planning stuff, so that, because a lot of my issue was I felt like a lot of the time I would go live and it would inevitably just end up with me just sitting playing games, and there wasn't much more going on. So trying to actually plan stuff out to make things a bit more of an event is kind of what I'm going for now. So, dude, I feel good. I'm glad to be back. Definitely
good,
was.
man.
Was
And
nice
you're
to
wearing
take a break.
pants more.
Yeah,
which is
right.
great.
Yeah, it's been super nice. So yeah, we have a few things to talk about. Well, first of all, you mentioned in your intro there, Grog, that you had your Loupedeck arrive finally.
Yeah.
So I saw some of your thoughts on Twitter, and I'm sure a lot of people did. Was it at gamer_Grog?
Yes, gamer_Grog. Yep.
Why don't you give us a summary? What's your thoughts on it? Tell us all about it.
So, I'm typically long-winded, so I'll definitely try and make this succinct. The Loupedeck, for anyone who didn't catch it in a previous podcast, basically they did not start as a competitor to, say, Elgato. They actually were a company that started designing hardware peripherals for editors, primarily video editors, and photographers using, say, like Adobe Lightroom or Adobe Premiere. And they had, at the time, a suite of 2 and then expanded to 3 different physical devices. So they are a hardware peripheral, usually, kind of depending on size, like either from like kind of like the size of like one of the 30 button Stream Decks to like one of them is kind of almost like a 60-65% size keyboard, and that's more towards like video editors. But the idea was that there's a lot of controls that creative individuals who are creating content need to sort of expedite their workflow. So if you're like color grading, or if you're needing to like have a quick button to like lock frames, or basically a lot of shortcuts that might otherwise be lost in a string of kind of random mental commands, like I have to hold Option Shift Alt 9 to make this happen, or Shift A blah blah blah. The whole idea was that you'd have a piece of hardware where you actually had a dedicated control for some of these very specific functions. So then more recently, Loupedeck has been going from highly specific hardware to something that is there's a Loupedeck CT, which is kind of like what I have. It's just slightly bigger. And basically the Loupedeck Live is what I just recently purchased. So the Loupedeck Live is, in terms of form factor, about the same size as the 15 button Stream Deck. It's a little wider, about the same height, because I got both in front of me right now. And basically, whereas the Stream Deck has physical buttons that you depress that are LED lit from behind, that are basically little mini screens, that can show animated pictures and stuff like that. The Loupedeck does the same thing, but instead of it being physical buttons that rise up, it's a touch pad. So there's a grid of uh, it's 4 rows and 3 columns. Sorry, no, 3 rows, 4 columns. So it's 3 top to bottom and then 4 across. And then there's also these like kind of 2 peripheral sidebars. And those peripheral sidebars basically go to 6 individual dials. And then there's a row of 7 buttons across the bottom. So when it comes down to it, comparing this Loupedeck to say like the Stream Deck, one of the things that's nice is with the Stream Deck, you have to be thoughtful in terms of like nesting folders within folders,
Yeah.
unless you're only content with just having 15 buttons. But the whole idea is that you can really get away with like packing more in by like thinking about how to tier your
Like
content.
layering it, yeah.
Exactly. So like I press one button and this is like my emotes folder, and then I press this one and this is my like all of my Nightbot prompts, and then I press this button and it's all something else. Basically, the Loupedeck can do that. You can make pages within pages, or rather like folders, but because it's a touch screen, you can also just swipe. So you can actually just drag your finger across if you're in a workspace, and you can just move from one page to the next without actually having to like give up a spot on that grid to being a folder button. That's one little thing. But the other thing is the buttons across the side are well, they're both dials and buttons. So I have 3 down the left, 3 down the right, and you can program what the incremental like upturn is on a dial and also what the downturn is, as well as the button press. And so each of those buttons, each of those dials also corresponds to a little slice of these vertical screens. So you have a little screen next to you where, like, for example, right now, my top left dial is my system audio. So if I need to hear you guys more, I literally can just crank it up to the right, as you'd expect a dial to do. And I have visual feedback where it's telling me the volume is going up. If I contextually double tap, I can click the button in and just mute system audio. But if I actually double tap the LED screen, the touch screen, it also functions the same as though I clicked the button of the dial. So that each dial can depress. That is an action. You can also double tap the visual like readout next to it to function like a button press. The dials can be programmed to do different things. So like on one of my scenes, I actually have like these little GIF animations on my in my OBS where I activate the source by turning it on or off. So I actually have one dial that I've assigned to 2 different little pop-up overlays. And because I use them frequently, if I scroll the dial to the left, it turns one of them on once. If I scroll it to the left again, it turns it off. If I scroll it to the right, it turns a different one on. And if I scroll it to the right again, it turns it off. And if I double tap either the button or the screen, it just activates a third one. So it's cool.
Yeah.
But I would say look up a video. Just look up Loupedeck Live. They have a couple good clips on YouTube, and there's now more like how-to videos that are coming out on YouTube. My complaints are this: is that as a piece of hardware, it's 100% better than the Stream Deck. It's made out of both metal and higher quality plastics. There's haptic feedback in the dials, so like when I'm turning it like in
Your
a
boy
high
likes
quality
haptic
stereo, you can actually feel kind of the notches. Like you can physically feel it going up notch by notch, which means that you can really dial in your settings exactly how you want if it is something granular. I love the fact that there is a little screen dedicated to each dial, so like you can get feedback on you can see what the status of a dial is.
Yeah.
My complaints are this: the software to set it up is better than Elgato's software. It's more stable. I haven't had it
Shots
crash
fired.
on me.
Shots fired.
It it's laid out well. The problem is this. The problem is there's lots of little quality of life things that make the Stream Deck better right now, but most of the shortcomings for the Loupedeck Live fall squarely on things that can be solved in software updates later. from a form factor, as a piece of hardware, it's fantastic. It's USB-C. It also has a USB adapter for whatever you're plugging it into. But one of the things too is that the cable that plugs into the device, unlike the Stream Deck, it actually has the USB-C comes out at a 90-degree angle. So rather than a cable that just shoots straight out the back of your peripheral, that you then have to manage, this one you can actually very neatly, if you're into cable management, this is fantastic because basically you don't see the cable if you don't want to. It goes in a 90-degree angle. It runs just along the back edge of it, and you can either have it be left or right facing because USB-C is, like omnidirectional. It's also like a better latency than my Stream Deck. So sometimes there'd be a slight delay. If I'm running a lot of software in the background, sometimes I'd press the Stream Deck, and we're not talking a big delay, not a full second, but like, half of a second. And maybe there's like when you're doing live video, you're sometimes like priming your emotional reaction to something, and then you're striking a button and you're expecting it's just going to trigger. This thing, because it's USB-C, is like pretty fucking instant. A lot of the pre-programmed stuff in the Loupedeck, they do have little suites. So like the Stream Deck does, where you basically have like these are pre-programmed functions that you can drag and drop onto buttons for OBS, for Spotify, for you name it. Loupedeck does that too. Um, and the difference is that a lot of what the Stream Deck is doing is not actually digging into the API of the uh, programs that it's affecting. It's just using shortcut commands, whereas the Loupedeck, unless you make a custom command, is actually, for all the pre-configured stuff, is actually tapping into the API, and you also get feedback on the bottom of your screen. So, for example, if I scroll my volume up, not only do I get feedback on the device itself, but I'm actually getting feedback on my computer monitor that it's not seeing.
Ah, okay.
And you can turn that off, but basically, like I can see where it's saying like volume level, and I can just see the numbers ticking up as a small little, like, less than a lower third kind of pop up
Yeah.
on screen. So that's nice. The problems are, it's all little quality of life things that I don't like. For example, all the drag and drop things that are available right now. There's complete and total support for OBS, for Streamlabs, for Spotify. But like, if I use any of the pre-configured tools and drag and drop them for like my scenes and stuff, unlike Stream Deck right now, I can't make custom icons. You can make custom actions, but that
So multi-action is still a thing.
multi-action is still, you can definitely do multi-actions, and you can even add in delays and all that stuff.
Okay.
Like, this thing can get as deep as you want it to be, but my criticism is there's just window dressing bits
Right.
that I wish could be a little different. So, for example, if I go to my scenes, I have all my scenes set up. I can hit live, and it'll give me a visual indicator that it's live, and it turns from red to green. But unlike the Stream Deck, I can't add my own custom icon. I could, but then I'd have to make it a custom action, and that just requires more setup on the back end for me. They have said in the future that they are going to have like editing for sort of the on-off states of things. Right now, for some custom actions, there is not the option to do an on-off state. You can add custom icons for the Loupedeck for custom actions that you create, but there's not like Stream Deck where you can have, let's say you want to have like a bright red color or animated GIF for when you're recording, and when the action is active, and you want to have like a static, dull, cool blue color for that same icon when you're not recording. You can't do that right now. Basically, you give it a single icon and that's it. That's little things like that were kind of a huge letdown, but also there's a lot to like about this. I'd also say I compared it in our podcast chat to kind of like OBS versus Streamlabs, or like if you have like a beginner low end version of a software, and then you have the higher end advanced version. This definitely feels like the more advanced tool for streamers right now, but it also has a lot more overhead in terms of like the learning curve is a lot steeper.
Yeah.
And it took me a little while to come to grow to like some of the things that it does. One of it is it contextually switches based on what application you're focused on. At first, I did not like it. So what that meant was you could deck out. Normally, you have your Stream Deck set up, right? And you have your like your top layer of buttons, and then however many folders you build in, and it's always static. You just have to remember where you are in those tiers mentally and navigate your way through it based on just muscle memory and experience, and how you've set it up to your personal liking. This thing, you can still customize it the way you want, but here's something that's a little crazy. There's basically workspaces. So there's a Windows workspace where if I'm not focused on any one application and I'm just using the desktop or clicking on files, in like the Windows Explorer, um, everything that I see on the screen on the Loupedeck is based on like how I've set it up for Windows. The moment I click on my web browser, I can have a different set of things automatically appear.
Oh, like a
And then if
profile?
I click, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, they call them workspaces, but it's
like a
it's
profile
basically
that loads based on what application you're in.
yes,
Okay.
yes, separate profiles that load instantaneously the moment you click on another application. And it's like when I say instantaneously, like if I'm on my browser now and I click off of it and go to Windows, there was like maybe a 500 millisecond delay. Like which is to say, there's not really a delay.
Yeah.
And all of your icons change, all of your dials change. You can basically have independent settings per application, and that means that you've got 6 individual dials, both the up and down you can program separately. The button for those dials you can program separately. You've got 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You've got 12 keypad buttons in the middle there, that are pages of touchpads that you can scroll through, or you can make folders. And then there's also 7 buttons at the bottom per workspace. So like you can actually set up workspaces within workspaces. So I mentioned there's these buttons at the bottom, and they're literally numbered 1 through 7, and they'll glow like their appropriate number or not, depending on whether or not you've programmed stuff into them. But for example, like when I'm streaming, if I click on Streamlabs right now, it would basically, the whole thing is going to contextually shift to a completely different set of UI that I've pre-set up. And then like my first one is all like my first sub workspace, the button at the bottom, if I tap it, it brings up all my scenes. If I tap the second one, it brings up like all of my like chat commands. If I tap the third one, it brings up like all of my studio functions. So like Streamlabs has like the studio transition thing where like you tap it and like you can edit stuff live without actually having it show on stream, and then you can hit the transition button and make it happen. It's kind of crazy how deep you can go. All of my complaints right now are mostly small user experience stuff as it pertains to either setting up the software or just really like the aesthetics of being able to really, really customize the graphical nature of all this.
Yeah.
But as a device, I'm sold. I'm not going to say that people should go. Do not get
Actually
rid
what
of
I
your
was
Stream
going to ask
Deck.
you in terms of like either new
Yeah.
streamer or even for me, because I currently have a 6-button Stream Deck because it was refurbished on Amazon, so it was like $40. So I saved hella money. So I have a 6-button. I'd like to have something more. What would you advise? Would you advise the Loupedeck for me or new streamers over getting, say, the 15-button Elgato Stream Deck?
To put this in perspective, the Loupedeck Live, which is and the only thing that I'm reviewing right now is the Loupedeck Live. So even though I keep calling it the Loupedeck, there's the Loupedeck CT, there's a couple other Loupedeck peripherals. The Loupedeck Live has parity with the 30-button Stream Deck for price range. It's not cheap. It was $269 US. I think it's like $249 like EU or UK. I can't remember, but basically you're looking over $200.
Yeah.
For the Loupedeck?
The Loupedeck Live, yeah. And the 30-button Stream Deck I think is like around 200. So this is like maybe in the ballpark of like $40 to $60 more. Some people, what I would say is this: I don't think that the 6-button Stream Deck is probably worth anyone's time.
Oh, it's really not.
No, I agree. I'm not saying that as a dig at you.
Yeah,
I know you know.
I got it because it was refurbished. That's
it's better than nothing though. Like it's
better than nothing. for someone who is new to streaming that would like to have the functionality of a dedicated peripheral that allows them to create custom macros and shortcuts that they can help them expedite, um, you know, their workflow while live, or even while they're not live, and just program it for other stuff. If you're a content creator, you can set it up to do all sorts of hotkeys.
I would
I
say
think
that's the
this,
key thing too, like content creation. Not
yeah,
just if you're just streaming and that's really your focus, which it really shouldn't be. We've talked about that before. But if you're just streaming, Stream Deck seems probably a cheaper option. But Loupedeck is really focused in on customization for individual applications. So if you're editing videos, you have custom
yeah.
you have all that. You have a big you basically have a really good command center to that
They have
is
complete and
dynamic
total
enough.
support for the
Yeah.
entire Adobe suite. Like
That's
every single Adobe product has pre-programmed stuff in there. So like if you use Photoshop or Illustrator or After Effects or what have you, and you click onto those programs, Loupedeck already has complete support for those
what about
because
affinity?
that's where they started to begin with. Um, so like if you were to go into Photoshop, you would have all of your tools like at the press of a button, you could, you know, like if you want to adjust the levels, for your color grading, and you can just tap a button and then just start like moving a dial, and it's gonna like start, you know, making changes. The Stream Deck isn't going to give you that kind of functionality.
No.
If you're just streaming, get a Stream Deck. If you I would say the 15 button Stream Deck is probably the best introduction for anyone looking to get a dedicated peripheral. Period.
Mhm.
It's user friendly. The software is drag and drop. It's pretty straightforward. There's a few things I wish it could do differently, but I would say for the money and for the um just
Convenience.
just for the amount of time you have to invest in terms of how much you get back out of it, um, I would say the Stream Deck is very, very, very approachable, and that would be my bet. I'd say anyone who's been streaming a long time and really and or has a very complicated stream and wants to be controlling a lot of features. If you have a lot of overlays that you wish to be able to control and toggle on the fly, um, y- I think it's fucking fantastic. Like I did set up a couple of my overlays where, again, at the turn of a dial, I can have it cycle on or off, and I have it like do an automatic refresh of the browser source, just through a dial without actually having to go into menus. Um, Loupedeck is just more advanced, but it's not inherently better. The functionality of what a Stream Deck does is no different than what the Loupedeck does. The difference of the Loupedeck is I think it's a better build quality for the hardware. I think that because it's not just buttons, because there are buttons, touch screens,
Profiles is seems like really
profiles is huge, and having profiles that are also works. It's like having you can build profiles and you can build workspaces within those profiles. So like and the fact that it switches contextually at first I didn't like it, but my resistance to it I think was because I only knew the Stream Deck. I
yeah.
only knew like I had complete control over what page I was on because it didn't move until I told it to.
Hmm.
And then when I at first I thought, well, this sucks. Like now when I click on this thing, it's changing. When I click on that, it's changing. But then I realized, wait a minute, I can add a Spotify page to the workspace um for my Streamlabs if I want. So when I'm on my streaming page, I can still access all of Spotify right there. In fact, if I don't want it to be overly intrusive, I have Spotify appear as a dial. So I have there's two dials. I have one dial for Spotify for the volume and one dial for on a press it's play pause, and on left turn it's previous track, and on right turn it's next track. And I just added that to every single I just added it everywhere. So like anytime that I want, I have a dial where I can do my system audio, my Spotify audio, and my Spotify playlist. Doesn't matter what workspace I'm in, and it doesn't actually take up a button key. It's literally just a
That's kind
little
of
slice of LED that's just giving me feedback next to each dial. And I just have those set up across all workspaces. So like no matter where I am. And I also on the right side, I have a dial that's set to my normalize for Spotify. Whenever I stream, I always have it set to an exact volume.
Hmm.
So if I'm like listening and I wanted to go back to like 80%, which is always what I have it at, I just tap that button and it's automatically at 80%. Um, it's there's just it's just more it's just it's think like Stream Deck, but it just has layers and the functionality of it is a lot more robust, but it also means that the setup is going to take longer.
Yeah.
To get it tailored to just the way you want, there's so much to change and there's so much to customize that I spent hours doing this. Whereas if you just wanted to get all your scenes loaded into a Stream Deck and be off and running, you could do it within an hour and you'd be
Right.
fine. And if you then wanted to customize your buttons and like add custom animations and all that stuff, you could do that too. But like, it's I give it like a solid A. It's not, like I don't give this perfect marks. Like it's a 4 out of 5 for me. And what would make it a 5 out of 5 is if they continue to improve the software, which there's no reason why updates to the software can't happen to then allow for the functionality of like
So that really
showing
depends on
toggle states.
so like because my kind of big takeaway from this is there's been nothing to combat Elgato in a lot of areas in terms of streaming. They
Yeah.
kind of run the show.
Yeah.
GoXLR was like the first one to kind of be like even come on the scene and be like, hey, beat us, and no one has yet in terms of like just ease of audio. I mean, obviously you can get some really nice stuff, and if you know your stuff you can, but anyway, GoXLR is really just a plug and play audio good to go. Same thing with the Stream Deck you have, and no one has come out to beat Elgato in almost anything. So that's what I like to hear about the Loupedeck. I like that they weren't even necessarily there initially to be a streamer device,
No.
but the software, because the hardware is set, and if you have my question is, do you think they're planning on to actually get in on the space enough to where they would put the effort into updating the software to actually make it, because right now it seems viable.
do.
If you want that route, it'll work, it'll do what you need to do. There might be some hiccups here and there, so you think that the company itself is like, yeah, we can probably push in on this Elgato market?
I think so, because the thing is, the changes that I want are just quality of life changes. They are not I honestly at this point don't think I'm not dissatisfied with the functionality of the device. The device as it stands with the pre-programmed suites of software that are supported, and the fact that you can really customize and drill down layer upon layer in terms of like how specific you want like commands to be, the fact that you can program in delays but to the millisecond, so you can have it execute multifunction stuff the way that it does. I'm satisfied with its functionality to a T. I give it top marks. My complaints are still just cosmetic shit
Yeah.
and really like small UI stuff, and none of that. I don't see the physical hardware that I have in front of me affecting their ability to make those improvements. And I will say this, they just shipped these on the 29th of September. I got mine on the 1st of October.
Yeah, you got it quick.
And yeah, I got it quick. They have distribution in the US and the EU as well. For mine, it came from Louisville, Kentucky. But I got it quick. It came well packaged. I was very satisfied with how it arrived. Nothing damaged, nothing broken. Everything was satisfactory in that regard. But I'll tell you this: while I was setting it up that first night, they pushed a firmware update live while I was like in the software, and it immediately notified me. Like it paused what I was doing, but it's like it just brought to my attention there's a new firmware update. They pushed a firmware update within like 2 days of this going to launch, and
Like a
I've
day
already
one
updated
patch.
it. But like it didn't, but then even within like I didn't have to restart the computer, the device, like it was good to go. And then I didn't notice anything before not working right. But I also didn't notice it like working really any differently afterwards, which to me is actually a good thing. Like it arrived fine. They patched it immediately and they just made some back end changes. And it tells me that they're definitely concerned with like staying up to date on it. So because I looked online to see if there was like there are patch notes, but I mean it's just like they're like fixing minor stuff.
Yeah.
But I looked to see if there was like people complaining like that there had been something wrong that they had to respond to. There wasn't. They just pushed a patch. That's cool. Like, and the fact that they were able to do it so quickly is fucking awesome. And they have said that they've committed to doing custom icon tailoring in the future.
Okay.
So again, if they do that, then that'll make me happy.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely a best case scenario for it to be kind of, for your complaints to be software based, because like you say, that's the easiest thing to address in the future. So yeah, hope it keep us updated on that.
Maybe
A
only
random
one knock
question,
against the hardware. One knock against the hardware. So the Stream Deck, has like a little easel thing where you can like almost like a beach chair. You can adjust like the angle of it by like how steeply it faces you. This doesn't have that. This, it'll either lay flat or it does have a little stand that clips on, but it holds it at a fixed angle that you can't change. I mean, if you had a 3D printer, or if you had like the means to like, customize a thing to like make it the right angle that you want. But like I know, yeah, it's just, that's not great.
Post-its.
Yeah, that's
Checkers.
that's less than ideal. But that
Dominoes.
is one nice thing with the Stream Deck is that you can like either have it on the little feet that prop
Snickers bars.
that prop it up on just a really shallow angle, or you can like make it really steep so it's practically facing you.
Yeah.
This doesn't do that. That's an
Candy
oversight.
corn.
But the bottoms of the feet are like this micro rubber, like it's all high quality stuff. Like I'm very happy with the build. Minus the stand.
Right.
It's actually a good angle for me.
We should talk about some of the Twitch updates that are
Yeah.
coming out this week, because we got a few things to go through. So I'm going to read the first tweet, and then we will give our thoughts on it and go through it. So Twitch tweeted out on September 30th, introducing Soundtrack by Twitch, which is in beta, a rights-cleared music tool designed specifically for Twitch creators. Stream worry-free with our highly curated music library rolling out starting today, and then a link to join the beta. There's also then a link for musicians, labels, or publishers to get their music into Soundtrack. So this is Twitch's answer to the DMCA claim issue that started to happen and was starting to pop up all over the site. They are introducing their own library of, to quote them, rights cleared music, meaning that they own the rights, so you won't be DMCA claimed by someone else. And this is designed specifically for streamers. Now this comes not long after Facebook announced for Facebook Gaming that they were licensing a bunch of music to be used on Facebook Gaming streams, which was obviously a huge move by Facebook, entitling people to actually listen to, potentially some actual chart music that Facebook just have the rights to use. This is not quite the same thing, but it is something. It's free for streamers to use, as far as I'm aware anyway, and it will let you listen to music on your stream that is safe. Now, does anyone... I don't know how familiar you guys are with this. Do you have any thoughts on this or the other side of this, which maybe isn't so good?
Well, I will say, to start this off, I said this exact thing, one or two podcasts ago?
Yeah.
I said, this is what Twitch is. Now, I don't know the inner workings of where they're getting this music from. I thought they'd make it more of a known thing like Amazon Music, but that doesn't seem to be the case. I don't know if they're using music from things they might already have owned from Amazon. That might be a thing. I'm not sure. But they're not marketing it as Amazon Music on Twitch. They're marketing it completely different. So, but I mean, it seems like a cool idea. You're like, finally, I can listen to some decent music. Like on the surface, it seems great. I have heard nothing but bad things though.
Yeah. When it first came out, I was excited to see all the things that they had access to. Like they had Nuclear Blast Records, which is where a lot of like metal bands release their things through, and it's like, oh, maybe there'd be some cool stuff on there. But yeah, then everything on Twitter started rolling through.
Yeah. So to kind of run through it, so I think the first major complaint I saw was that, so effectively what this is Twitch has gone to a bunch of artists, labels, publishers, whatever, and acquired the rights to this music. Now, I don't know whether that's been a financial, like they've bought the rights, or they've just convinced people to give them the rights. But I've been seeing a lot of things saying that the creators of this music are not earning any revenue based on streams, right? So you would think, like, so even right now, if you're to go on Spotify and stream that music on your stream, at least that is a stream which in theory somebody's making a very tiny amount of money on, right?
0.0001
Yeah,
cent
something like
per
that.
stream
Yeah.
or something.
So what I've been seeing, and I don't know the specifics of it, but I've been seeing people saying that basically these artists are just being paid in exposure, right? Which is the age-old thing with like graphic designers and stuff like that, you know?
Who made that? Did you guys see that? Please tell me you saw that tweet. Do you know what tweet I'm talking about?
I think
Where it was
so.
like this. It was like a cartoon.
Oh,
like
yes.
comic
I
strip.
can't remember
Oh
what
my
that guy's
God, it
name
was
is that
so
makes those
funny.
comics.
Yeah.
The one with the really fat stick characters, right?
The oatmeal.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
so funny.
There you go, Grog.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, here you go. Well, what's my pay? You get paid in exposure. Oh, great. And he takes this bills of exposure to the store or whatever and is like,
Yeah.
do you accept these? Fuck no.
But that's kind of what I've seen so far, and I've seen a few people kind of saying the same thing. I don't know the actual logistics of it. I don't know if there was a deal ahead of times with, where they maybe were paid up front or something. I don't know how that's working.
So, as I just want to point out that as Kevin OSX in chat pointed out, the article that we were referencing there was written by Pretzel,
Yeah,
which is a
who is a
competitor.
competitor.
Yeah.
Now,
Still funny.
I do think that the article was on point, but I do think it's important to point out that although it was published through Medium, Pretzel basically issued the memo tearing down, this new thing. Really the crux of the article for anyone who didn't read it was that it breaks down the fact that for this kind of online licensing and online use, there's basically 4 different kinds of licensing that needs to take place. There's public performance, there's a mechanical licensing, there's synchronization licensing, and then there's the sound recording license itself. They're doing gratis licenses, so this is the exposure licenses from the record labels. They're not doing the mechanicals because they're you don't actually have, like, you can't search for it basically, like, or it's non-interactive, I guess. It's effectively internet radio. And they're not paying for synchronization licensing, which means that none of this is actually going to be embedded in your VOD. It's not going to be embedded in your stream
It's a
after the fact.
separate audio
Yeah, it's
track,
separate,
right? Yeah.
So they are paying the public performance license. So the record companies, the labels are getting paid. The license for the soundtrack is gratis, so it's up to the performer, the musician, the band in this case, to decide if they're opting in. And then in terms of the other stuff, they're not doing mechanicals or synchronization. And the reason, so what this basically means is that you as the streamer aren't going to be listening to it. This is not for you to listen to while you play. This is basically an internet radio that plays, and you have some control over what genre it's set to, what have you. But you're not searching for a track. You're not like taking requests from
Or
viewers.
making a playlist
Viewers,
or anything.
Yes, you're not doing any of that. It's internet radio, basically. You choose your station, and I believe that the user will have control over some of the volume. But effectively, this is just a thing that's going to play alongside your stream, and that's it. It seems like the input is going to be pretty minimal on your end. And then the user will have, like, I guess some interactivity, but it won't be saved in your VODs, so that's a good thing. But also, you won't hear it. That's kind of a weird thing.
Yeah,
so if
it
somebody's
almost
like,
seems like that's how they're getting around it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because it's not in the VOD. Play whatever the fuck you want it to be. You know what I mean?
It's-
Like, it just doesn't. It seems weird.
Well, the reasoning apparently is it's not licensed for any content that can be streamed on demand for VODs,
Yeah.
clips, or YouTube. So
because they're not paying the synchronization license.
their license is only for that live content. And yeah, if you tried to use any of that music outside of Twitch or even in your VODs or highlights or anything, then you're not licensed and you could get a DMCA. So it's very specific.
I don't like
you
it.
can't
Yeah.
mix it into your content.
with not being
I
able
don't
to
like
hear
it
it.
because
It's
based on principle,
garbage.
man,
No.
they're just like they're trying to address a symptom of the major issue. Fix the fucking DMCA law. It's so garbage. Copyright law is like, this I've created. Condi takes what I have created, and now he is specifically using what I have created to make money. Copyright strike his ass. That's not how any of this shit ever works. When we're listening to music or people are streaming or whatever, it is literally just background music. That's all it is. It's just stuff in the background to fill in dead space in between load times, conversations, whatever. That's all it is. Or if you just like listening to music, no one's going to be like, oh man, I'm donating this guy $12 because he played my favorite Breaking Benjamin album. Like, no one's fucking doing that shit.
Yeah.
It drives me so fucking up the wall. I get so mad at this shit. And that's what I think these things are coming around, because like this, specifically this Twitch thing, it's just like addressing a symptom of the issue. Like, oh, we'll pay for a cheaper license to have it playing in the background. You can't hear it, which you may want to, but you can't. And it's not going to be on your VODs, which really gets us out of the ballpark of not having a video content with other people's content in there. You know what I mean? I don't know. It pisses me off. I don't like it.
Here's a fun situation that I could see happening too, Humps, which I know will just irritate you to no end. Is somebody's like, "Hey man, that song's a real banger. What is it?" And you're like, "I don't fucking know."
There's music playing.
So the interesting thing, again, a comment in chat, brought up the fact that people, there's kind of an overwhelming thought of I wish there was a license I could buy to support the artists, but there's not, so I'm just going to keep playing the music and delete my VODs. Which I know people are doing. They're still just playing any music they want and they're deleting their VODs. The important thing to remember is you can be striked while you are live. We've known people that it's happened to. I've seen people it happen to on Twitter. Yeah, it seems to be less common because obviously it's a bit more difficult to catch, but it's coming and it is going to start happening. And the people that are trying to get around this by just deleting VODs, they're going to get hit soon. It's going to happen. And yeah,
don't do.
Twitch,
if you really care about your channel, don't do it.
Yeah, for sure.
There's no reason to take the risk.
And it's really easy to say, "Oh well, I'm a small channel. It's not going to happen." It's not true.
It's exactly. They have a
it's
ball
even easier for
shit.
small channels.
all that needs to take place is they just need the software and the algorithm needs to get better. But once it does, which
AI doesn't give a shit.
Right. AI doesn't discriminate. It's going to just scan, like very rigidly across the whole platform.
Yeah, it's
and to be clear,
so
the whole DMCA issue and getting struck with copyrights and the fact that like all of this is a concern and a headache for everybody involved, that's not Twitch's fault. Now, Twitch's approach to handling this in terms of rolling out their own remedy, that can be criticized and is at fault. But again, I do think that it's important to like hold the right parties accountable. So like, the fact that there's a piece of legislation that's 20 years old that was signed into American law is now fucking things up on an international level for content creators on a whole range of platforms. That's a problem specific to the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. So you're right. I do think that needs to get revised. It's out of date. It's out of touch, and it doesn't reflect the way the internet works and the way that content creation works now. Going into the latter half of the 21st century, it's antiquated and it's fucked. But getting DMCA'd while live or getting DMCA'd after the fact, or the fact that people are deleting their VODs and feel like they're just saying fuck it, I'll do that just so I don't get in trouble. That's them taking the piss out of the DMCA Act. It's not Twitch's fault. YouTube would do the same to you. Facebook would do the same to you.
Yep.
The difference here is that Facebook actually listened more closely to their content creators, and Facebook actually licensed the material so that, like, for example, it's more akin to something like what's his name who did the T-Pain. Like T-Pain is not charging for his shit, but let's say that he was. Let's say that like Twitch licensed his stuff. This would be the equivalent of like you being able to take someone's body of music that's been licensed for you to use to mix into your audio so that you could use your player, your iTunes, Spotify, etc. VLC, whatever you're using to listen to music on your system. you're using that, you're listening to it, the chat hears it, you hear it, it's on the stream, it's in your video, and when it's done, it's on the VOD, and your VOD won't be affected and it won't be touched. That's what Facebook basically did. They said, okay, we're going to build a catalog of music that we will license that you're allowed to use. But here's one of the things that really pisses me off about like the soundtrack thing that Twitch is rolling out, which is if you can't hear it and you can't control it, how the fuck do you mix your audio levels?
Yeah.
For anyone who's serious about like content creation, that you want to balance your levels both for the game, for your Discord, for your own microphone, for your music, so that also when you talk, one gets ducked under the other. So then when you stop talking, it comes back up into the mix. Like for anyone who is taking any of this seriously, you need to be able to have control over your audio mix. This doesn't do that. This is the equivalent of people already complaining about advertisements that come in either pre-roll or mid-roll where the audio is not normalized with whatever the setting is for the stream. So you have like a stream that maybe goes to an ad break, then the ad break is crazy loud, and then it goes back to a quiet stream.
Yeah.
I mean, part of that is the person might be under mixing their stream and like their audio is like too low. But again, if you can't hear the music to begin with, where do you even start? Like, how do you even know whether or not you're audible over the people that are watching that are listening to Breaking Benjamin or whatever it is? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, we've all watched streams where the music's super loud and you can't hear the mic, the person talking. You know, it's not the best viewing experience.
And if being able to hear the music, like I don't know how many times I've been live and I've been listening to music and I go, oh, I don't want to listen to this. This doesn't really fit the vibe of the stream. You're not gonna fucking know, right?
Yeah. True. So it's an interesting thing. I immediately, when I saw the tweet, I went and signed up for the beta without really doing any research because I was like, why not? Like, might as well see what happens. And I did get the email to say like, oh, you can download this and start using it. I haven't because obviously after signing up, I did go back and read up on it a little bit. But looking at the comments on the tweet, most people are super excited about it. There is a couple comments asking, like, how are the artists being paid, blah, 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 things like that. So clearly it is a bit of a divisive move by Twitch. It's something. I just don't think they've hit the nail quite on the head with this one.
I think this might be a good time to recommend some music streaming things that you can use on stream and not get DMCA'd.
Yeah.
Like I know some of you guys use Pretzel, right?
I use Pretzel. I have the whatever the premium thing is, so I use Pretzel for everything, for all my sound clips and all that. And I know some people, it's not for everyone, but there is so much music on there that I've built up a playlist of like 6 hours worth of music that I personally think is fine and really good for the stream. So, but I know there's others. Monster Cat, I think, has one. And this is relatively cheap. I mean, again, if you're serious about and
it's still a license. We should point out for a number of these things, some of them can be used free, some of them, like your license for Pretzel allows you to put this into your YouTube videos, right, Condi?
Yes, as far as I'm aware, yeah. That by paying the premium, you're then licensed to use it in other content. I know like Harris Heller Stream Beats, he says use it in your YouTube content or whatever, and he won't claim it.
And so if you already have Spotify for Harris Heller, that's free because you can just play that playlist. And
yes, I mean there's other options.
Absolutely. But here's the thing, for Monster Cat
sound, and it's pretty good so far.
I didn't learn the hard way, but I did learn that like Monster Cat is a great tool. But here's the thing, Monster Cat is not free. It's on Spotify. Just because it's on Spotify doesn't mean that you can play their stuff without getting DMCA'd. You still actually have to pay for a license. So Pretzel, just the reason why I wanted to point that out is Pretzel, if you use Pretzel now and don't pay for the premium, you can use it in your stream. There's just limitations to what you can do. Like obviously you can't use it in your YouTube video. You can't use it in other promotional content because you didn't pay for the license to do that. But Monster Cat, like Stream Beats, is also on Spotify. Monster Cat has a massive catalog of electronic and EDM stuff. And if you play that, just know that you do need a license for it, because if you just play it on stream and assume, oh, well, I heard Monster Cat was fine, like they're one of those, they're like Pretzel, right? Yes, but no. It's not Stream Beats. It's not just, a person or a group saying like, we're not going to like hit you with a claim. they can hit you with a claim, and they're within their right to do that because that's the deal they've made. So
Yeah, I know the Bubbles in the chat is asking about non-copyright sounds. I'm not familiar with them. I've not used them.
I mean, you can like Spotify, you can type in NCS and get a playlist that's non-copyright stuff. It's basically stream beats. It's all lo-fi stuff, which I mean, if that's your shtick, that's your shtick. It's great. Go use stream beats. It's got a plethora of lo-fi, chill, hanging out. That's all good.
Just
but
play
if you
old music
actually,
that's like everybody's dead that made it, so it doesn't matter anymore.
yeah, like using a mandolin and shit.
Yeah.
I'd be down.
The amazing
Infinite Loop.
But it's still down to the performer and the music label that owns it. So for example, you could play something from like say the 1930s, but if Columbia Records, which is still around, has that as part of their back catalog, you could still be DMCA'd even though the individual is dead.
Oh, I mean, there's a specific branch of music that the copyrights are completely null and void now. Like, God, what is that? Green Sleeves. Oh, Danny boy, the pipes are calling.
But see, here's
infinitely.
But here's the thing though, Kibbles, is that it's not necessarily about whether it's a song like Amazing Grace or Greensleeves. It's not about the song being copyright, the performance. So if you have a new performance,
I'm saying that there is the original is what I'm talking about. If you do that, it's not copyrightable, not DMCA-able. It falls under a whole subsection. I can't remember what it's called.
I would just say some of that stuff can get a little nebulous because you'd have to be very careful about how far back you go and who it's from, because you could find an old recording, but like, how do you discern what the original is of Amazing Grace? Do you know what I mean? And at some point you may still run across someone who has a stake and in the license for a particular performance of that song. Sometimes
public domain is what I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. I mean, end of the day, I'm interested in it. I want to see if Twitch, what's the word I'm looking for? If they like iterate on this, improve it. We all know Twitch doesn't quite get things right first time. I mean, look what they did with watch parties. They launched watch parties, people gave their feedback, and they improved it. So this would be nice to see a feature. And I mean, I think you can't really say that this was a reaction to the Facebook gaming thing. Clearly, this has been in the works for a while. So maybe
it'd just be nice if they could have a little foresight first instead of relying so heavily on feedback. Instead, going like, "Hey, people will probably hate this.
Yeah,
maybe we should tweak it before we put it out." It's like the watch party left such a nasty taste in my mouth with how bad they fucked that up. That's like, I don't even really know if I want to go back to it.
For sure. I personally, I'm not going to be using this feature, but I would maybe like to try and check out some streams that are using it to get a better understanding of it, but we shall see. They had a couple other little things which I want to quickly hit as well. One that I think is overall a good thing, we can't really complain about too much, is they added a little bit more control to channel points rewards.
I hate
it! So again, if you're unsure, so channels can have channel points now. You can set custom rewards for X amount of channel points, which can be something like hydrate or maybe some overlays on your stream or something that people can unlock by watching your channel and earning points. Now, one of the issues I always had with it was there was no way of setting a cooldown. So if somebody maybe just saved up tons of points, they could just redeem the same thing multiple times in a row. And make you like down a whole glass of water or whatever with a hydrate command. You could set previously a limit per stream. So you could maybe say, well, I only want to do this 5 times per stream maximum, and then it's sold out. They can now have a cooldown. So again, looking at the tweet here, they said, we're adding new ways to control the pace your viewers can redeem channel point rewards. You can now set cooldown periods and redemption limits per user and or stream. Which is interesting. So again, you can have a cooldown time, which you can set in minutes, up to 7 days, which is interesting. You can have a cooldown of a week on something. And again, you can have it as like 1 per user. So the same person
I will only twerk once a week.
Yeah, right.
Once a week is my twerking limit.
But again, you can still have the limit per stream, which is fine. And you can actually set a limit per user as well. So if somebody redeems it and tries to get Grog to twerk, that same person couldn't do it again.
Dude, I'm pushing 40 in a couple years. Like I'm worried about breaking something at this point.
Yeah, that's even more exciting. That's why I will redeem that.
Yeah. So I think literally it's not a bad thing. They're just adding more control. More control on the streamer is always a good thing. As we've kind of said. And personally, I need to get on this so that I don't have 10, 20 dabs in a row back to back. So yeah, cool thing there. Now the big one, which has come out recently. Actually, I know Grog was talking about this a little more. Maybe you'd be best to explain this, because I know the basics of it, but I don't know if you want to explain it.
I mean, it's pretty brief. Basically, for whatever reason, because as far as I know, I didn't see, like on your creator dashboard, you get notifications of like upcoming features that are going to roll out. There wasn't any advance notice of this, but apparently Twitch did confirm via a message that was sent back to someone who had levied a complaint at them that if you raid with 5 or less people as part of your raid, so you're ending a stream, you raid another channel, and you're doing it with 5 or less, that the API will not necessarily call out your raid in chat. So when it says, Condyfly is raiding Sir Humps with, like 15 viewers, or Kibbles is raiding, Grog with like, 4 viewers. If that happened, I wouldn't see the notification. People might come in and say, oh, what's up, Kibbles raid, or like, oh, Condy raid, but like the actual notification doesn't go through. So Bubbles is saying he thinks, is it 5 or less, or he thought it was 10. I'm trying to recall now. I know that it was definitely, if it's definitely 5 or less, you will not be notified.
I believe it's less than 10 from what I remember
less
reading.
Than 10.
But I could be wrong on that as well. I think it was less than 10.
And if it's less than 10, even worse.
That's a huge,
in a way,
huge portion of streamers.
Yeah, because if you think about it, most people who are trying to grow, let's forget hitting affiliate. Affiliate will just happen. Anyone that pushes hard enough will get to affiliate. Some might get there faster or slower, but affiliate's a thing that people will just kind of like be able to achieve. The hardest thing that everyone would recognize is getting concurrent views. Concurrent views is the thing that is going to hold a million people back from getting, partner. And it just takes time. And you could have been streaming for a year, you could have been streaming for 10 years, whatever it may be. Concurrent viewers is going to be the thing to grow the slowest. And that is basically your average over the course of a stream. So unless let's say you pull on average, if you go to your dashboard and it says, your average view count is 9.78. But like, let's say that on the, on every other stream, you maybe get a raid from somebody else who drops you 20 viewers. So you're going and raiding somebody else with like 20, 25. But whenever you do those raids and you're carrying on raids from someone else, you're carrying the momentum forward, you'll get called out. But if you were just to organically do your own stream and raid somebody with 9 viewers, you're not going to get like thanked or notified for it. Like, that's pretty shitty. And most people are going to fall into kind of like around 10 as their average, or like 15, maybe 20 as their average. But like a lot of people, the overwhelming majority of people are going to be at 10 or less.
And for
so
streamers though,
yeah,
and for streamers that are going like hundreds or thousands of viewers, it makes sense to have something like that, but you can set it up yourself. Did anybody even ask for that?
Yeah.
Like I could understand
that's
like,
easy.
oh, if it's under this, I don't want that to show up, because it's gonna be like one raid, because like people with 1 or 2 viewers are gonna try and raid these really big channels, and that would get fucking obnoxious. But to just blanket the entire site
Without
it
telling
doesn't make
anyone.
it doesn't. I don't see how this came up. Like, hey, this
Yeah.
is an issue that streamers have been having. I don't think any streamer's been having that, because like you said, like I think we all use some either fully stream integrated stream elements or some sort of form of stream elements. I think Grog, maybe you're more Stream Labs, right?
Yeah.
But Stream Elements, I mean, I'm sure Stream Labs is the same. Stream Elements, you can pick, you
Yeah.
can change what gets shown on your alert. You can set that limit for like, I don't want to be alerted if it was a raid 10. You can do that already. Like, that's an option
Yeah.
for you to do. The fact that Twitch is like, I just don't understand where, like, some of the changes Twitch makes, like we've talked about them before. I don't know where they're coming from. Like, I don't know who's like hitting their inbox like, no, I'm
I think the
such a
person
huge
that they're
streamer. I really hate these 10 or less raids that I get on the day to day. Like, I
exactly.
don't understand it.
I think it is. I think it's definitely as you and Kibbles pointed out. I think this is self-serving only to those people who are regularly hosting 1,000 or more viewers on their channel on a daily basis, and they don't. There's a lot of people who are trying to get into streaming that maybe go about it the wrong way. People drop into your stream, hey, you want to do follow for follow, or hey, you want to do this, or like, they just, or they do all of the things that are maybe uncouth, that like you have to learn the hard way at first, are the wrong ways to do it. And one of the things that people might do is say, oh, I'm just starting streaming, I'm finishing a stream and I've got 4 people and it's the most I've ever had, I'm gonna go raid, uh, you know Shroud. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna go raid like someone huge, and you do that, and it's like those people aren't gonna notice you or give you the time of day. But also, like, they weren't gonna do that to begin with.
Yeah.
So who like? But if they get annoyed that if they're getting constantly like raided by small people who very blindly are hoping that it gets them attention, you know, and if these big streamers find that annoying, then yeah, let it be a threshold that they set for themselves, whether or not it shows up on their stream.
I
Like,
mean, even if it's like, I mean, I still don't even understand like the point of it. Like, so you're minimizing, like, even if you are a big streamer, I don't think you're getting constantly bombarded by less, small raids. Like, people, because I think most people are like, shit, I only have 7 people. I'm not gonna go raid Shroud with 50,000 people watching him. Or even if they do, like, who cares? Like, you know what I mean? It's just one alert saying so and so rated you. That's it. That's all that happens. The more intrusive is maybe like if you're smaller, you get rated by bigger someone's. You have the one alert saying so and so rated you, and then you have follow, 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 follow. That's like the alert, 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 alert. So like I don't know, because even if you did, I don't know. I just don't get it. I don't know. It's just dumb. It's dumb. I don't know. I don't know where it came from, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
It's another one of those things where maybe Twitch should have thought about it a little more.
Well, I mean, the
Like,
fact is, like,
let's do a simulation of what kind of
spent
backlash could we
money
get.
figuring this out. They spent money implementing it. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it may not have been direct, like buying something, but they had, man hours spent or person hours spent on developing this and implementing this. So they spent money to do this when, like, I don't see I haven't seen anything about someone like, yeah, we want this. Like, I don't understand it.
The interesting thing is that it happened to me, someone raided me and nothing popped up, and all these people started spamming like raid and chat, and then I was like, oh, that's super interesting. Like, that didn't come up on my Streamlabs like stream labels thing for all my alerts. It didn't come up in chat, and my immediate thought was like, oh, that's weird, must be like a little bug,
Yeah.
Like, I would never have dreamed like, oh, that's a feature, that's a thing Twitch brought in. Like, it just made for a really awkward encounter, right? Where you're like, oh, well, sorry, I guess this person rated me. Yeah, don't know why that didn't pop up. Weird. And it's like, if my first thought is like, that must be a strange little glitch that happened. Like, it shouldn't be like that. And I have to wonder what Twitch thinks they're achieving with this feature. If maybe they do just think this is helping out the big streamers. We've seen them change API features before. I know there's been some things with, they tried to combat these people that were maybe lurking and trying to increase their viewership numbers with these lurk for lurk communities, and they changed the way things work there. We've seen changes to the API. I remember years ago there was changes that drastically affected people's viewership numbers with the way it counted viewers, and it was like noticeable. One day it just changed. But yeah, this is a weird one. This is a really, really weird one.
One of my worries is that will this discourage people who are smaller streamers from bothering to raid?
Yeah, rating at all.
If you know that you're under 10 and it's not necessarily going to be seen, will people just be like,
well, if you're under 10,
why
you
should I
shouldn't be
bother?
streaming anyway. You have to be 13 years of age or older.
I thought that was going to be a super toxic,
Yeah.
like,
if
you're under 10 viewers,
if you
give
have less
up.
than 10 people, you shouldn't even be streaming in the first place, you piece of shit.
Damn.
Give up on your dreams, you horrible person. Hot take from the mighty Kibbles. Follow him on Twitter, folks.
You are right though. Like it's the last thing you want is to encourage people to not raid, because, you know, I remember, you know,
some people just end their stream.
Well,
They'll just say,
I
all right,
remember
guys, I'll see you tomorrow, and end stream, and that's it.
way back before raids were even an official thing, right? Because raids were one of those things that streamers kind of came up with. You know, I'm going to host this person, but we're going to go raid them, right? That was it came from the community, and then Twitch made it an actual feature, right? And I remember, you know, sitting there with 2 viewers, and I remember the first time I was hosted with 10 exactly, and it was like, holy shit, this is insane. I have 12 viewers in my stream now. Like, I've never seen double digits before. This is crazy. And I remember even like thinking like, damn, like that's like that guy that hosted me is a big shot. He came in with 10 viewers. That's fucking crazy. And it properly made my day, right? And you know, again, if you go in and you raid a streamer, if you've got 5 viewers and you're rating a streamer that has 5 viewers, you've just doubled their number in their stream. Like, that's a big deal, right? And people, again, growing channels, smaller channels will appreciate that. And trying to, I guess, de-incentivize? De-incentivize? That's a word, right? De-incentivize?
Yeah. Keep going.
Trying to put people off of,
disincentivize, yeah.
Thank you. Trying to put people off of actually rating with less viewers, it fucking sucks. And I did see comments in chat saying that, you know, there's ways around it, which is that, you know, you can just go back to hosting people, which is a less direct way. I mean, the way,
and there's like a
too.
cheesy way. You can basically start raid, let it build up, host, and then raid.
yeah.
So basically, yes,
just
you
give
can
it a
hit
couple weeks
the,
and
in
they'll
your
ruin that
whether
too.
you use the slash raid or you use your creator dashboard. You know, start raid, let it build up, and then slash host. I don't know. I mean, it
So
just seems
that-
like a pain in the ass just to like get your stuff noticed, I guess, for it
well,
to pop
because
up.
the issue is, right, is that if we're going back to absolute basics here, if you just host a channel, that's just plays over your stream. None of your viewers automatically go over to that channel. They're still in your chat room.
Yeah.
But they're
So
just
there's no
seeing the other
engagement
stream. So in order
between
for
your channel and theirs.
exactly, so in order for one of your viewers to actually go over and interact with that other streamer, they've got to then click another button to go and join that chat. To then type. And we all know on the internet, the more barriers you put up, the less people are going to go through there, right? I don't know if you guys see the same thing, but at the end of a stream, when I hit a raid, people always dip out. You know, there's always some percentage of people that aren't interested.
Yeah.
And if you are then adding more things where you have to go click this, that amount of people is going to get even less. That are going to stick around.
Oh yeah,
for
for
that.
sure. I mean, especially when you're talking about, you know, like smaller channels or whatever. So I mean, say you regularly, you know, you're averaging 10, or maybe you might have, you know, anywhere between 10 and 20 people you might be rating someone. The bigger channels where you have like I just watched it today. Like I was watching Gigs earlier, and he had around 2K people watching him, which he normally about does. And when he raids someone, like he first like blasts his chat with the link so that they pick the link so you can click on it and actually go to the channel.
Mhm.
But I mean, out of 2,000 people, he probably has a good amount of lurkers that wouldn't click that channel, you know, click the link anyway. And then obviously he has, just because he has so many people, he has a lot more people that would click on it and actually actively engage in the raid and the host. But when you're talking, you know, someone that has, you know, maybe averaging 10 to 20 people, you know, probably a good amount of those, you know, are probably actually lurkers, you know, not necessarily not involved, but not so involved to where they'll be like, yeah, I'm paying attention enough to where I'm going to click this link. You know what I mean? So it's
Yep.
like, even if you were to just like host or do this little host raid thing, you know, they may not click the link, or they may not be the one to actually click the button that actually puts them in someone's chat to count as a viewer for whoever you're rating, which is kind of the important thing about, you know, rating someone, bringing these viewers, whether they're lurking or not, bringing them over to someone's channel to actually give them that number boost, because if, otherwise it's like they're not even there. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. And the old way, like you say, was you would just spam the link in chat and then host and hope that people are going to click that and go over. The sort of workaround that you were mentioning, where you let the raid build up and then you host, and then the raid goes through, I guess does kind of eliminate that, because then the host is going to pop up in the API, so the streamer knows that they're being hosted, but then at the same time, all those viewers do get pushed over in the raid. But it's like, why do we have to go to that extra
And
level?
I will 100% fuck that up every time. There's not going to be a situation where I get that right.
Yeah, it's
like I'm the guy that instead of hit raid, I hit 90-second ad.
yeah, accidentally running an ad.
I need them pennies, baby.
It's yeah, it's super interesting, and I hope that they revert this change. Anyway, I'll put it that way. Any other thoughts on that at all?
No, I think it's bullshit.
Yeah, it's bullshit. And
It's all bullshit.
I just want to make
Everything's
one more
bullshit.
comment about their Twitch and Twitch's bullshit music stuff, or whatever it's called, stream, whatever it is. I don't even know what it's called. Anyway, Twitch is owned by who?
Amazon.
Microsoft.
Did you
Soon,
did
probably.
you forget, or were we supposed to fill that in?
I know audio people can't see what I'm doing, but you see what I'm doing. Twitch is owned by who? God damn it, I fucking hate all of you. Amazon. Amazon is worth billions of dollars. Buy some fucking licenses and let us listen to whatever fucking music we want to listen to. It drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Billions.
Nope. It's a solid point. Solid point. I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens and see if Twitch fixes this all out, you know? But we'll keep an eye on it. We'll keep updating it. And I'm sure we'll have many more episodes where we talk about DMCA and all this, all the usual suspects. I think that is about time to wrap up there. So, first of all, Grog, where can the people find you, and what do you want to plug? What you got going on?
People can find me on Twitch and YouTube at @just_grog. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at gamer_grog. I stream 5 days a week, and Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays are my longest days. I start at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time, so that's 4:30 p.m. if you're in the UK. And yeah, and then Saturdays I do a co-stream with my wife. We do like sort of couch co-op, like indie games on those days, so it's pretty fun.
Awesome. Humps, where can everyone find you?
You can find me on all the socials at Sir Humps, except for Twitter. You can add an underscore on the end of that. You know, I'm back to streaming. I've been on the Destiny grind again, so I've been doing a lot more PvP for Destiny. I'm actually going to be probably hopping in some trials, doing some trials cards with Bubbles after this. And again, just to mention, you know, if you want to save some money on some beard products, hit that livebearded.com, brother. Save 10% using code Sir Humps.
Nice.
Sorry, I was just a little excited.
And Kibbles.
Yeah, you can find me at The Mighty Kibbles on Twitch and TikTok and YouTube. I actually had a video come out 20 minutes ago. It was when it was scheduled. So I've been playing a lot of Among Us on stream, and we're doing the rest of season 1 of Walking Dead and this game called Danganronpa, which is like Japanese murder mystery nonsense. So it's been pretty fun. You should come hang out Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Hell yeah.
Video today, Tuesday, and Thursday.
Nice. Is it an Among Us video today?
Yep, Among Us, and then a bunch of other stuff coming out through the week.
All right, sick. I'm going to go watch that. Cool. And my name's Conifly. You can find me Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, all the usuals. I also have a video coming out soon, like in the next, let's say like half an hour or so. I can get that done. So that's going to be coming out. And then, yeah, I'm doing an art stream on Wednesday.
The art stream, go on.
Art stream. My wife's going to be joining us.
I've been waiting
Luke,
for the
check
body
out, check
painting
out,
episode.
I bought an easel
An easel.
for my painting.
That easel is 3 foot tall. And look at Condi.
Connie, I'm gonna need to
Can't
know
stand
what
next to
model.
anything.
I'm gonna need to know what model easel that is.
It may be broken. It may be broken. But yeah, we're gonna do painting, which I can't paint, so this is gonna be interesting.
No, you do like wine and sip, you know, like those. Just make sure you got some booze in.
I've
wife is a very
I've
good
been
painter.
watching Bob Ross on Twitch. Is fine. Like, we're gonna do some paintings, and like, I want to do giveaways as well, so that when we do a painting, we do a giveaway to someone on stream and give the paintings away.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be dope. Somebody can get one of my works of art for their house.
I'll hang it up. I'll hang it up right there.
So yeah, that's my plan. So yeah, but more importantly than that, make sure you follow the podcast on Twitter at Zero Strategy Pod. And if you're listening on any of the podcast platforms, come and check out the live stream. It's twitch.tv/Zero Strategy Podcast. And if you've been watching the live stream and you've enjoyed, you can find all of our previous episodes on Spotify. Just search for Zero Strategy Podcast, or on YouTube as well, which we can put the link in.
We also put highlights on YouTube now.
We do. We also do highlights. So make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and all that good stuff. If you're watching live, we are going to go and raid someone, so please stick around for that. Other than that, we'll be back.
6 of you are not allowed to leave.
Yes, please. Please make sure to come back next time. We're going to have more stuff to talk about. But thank you very much for your time, and we will see you guys later. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Peace.
Bye.